Hey guys, so we are going to talk some more about plants today. We've already talked a little bit about Linnaeus and how he actually came up with the binomial nomenclature, which is the two-term naming system, and how he classified all of the plants in his book Systema Natura. And then today what we're going to do is we're going to break those down a little bit more from just vascular and non-vascular. So we're going to talk about, we've already talked about our mosses being our non-vascular, but we're going to talk about our vascular plants today. So when you look at vascular plants, you're going to split them into two groups. One is going to be the spore producing, and the other one is going to be seed producing. So on your spore producing, they're going to be like ferns, and the way that they reproduce is not by seeds. They don't actually produce the seeds that get planted in the ground and that kind of thing. But what they do is they actually produce spores on their leaves. And then you can actually see this is called resurrection fern. So one of the coolest things about this is that this fern grows on trees. It loves the tree limbs and like really high places, but also on a whole bunch of oak trees. It loves that. You can actually see this right here. Looks like it's dead and it's done for and it's not getting any better, but that's actually not the case. It can go for a really, really long time through the drought, through the entire summer without a lot of rain. And then it can still survive. And then once it gets rain, it opens up just like this. So this actually came from the same place. It's just that I took this one in and didn't let it get rain last night, and this one got rain. So it's called resurrection fern, and on the bottom, I don't know if you can see, but there are actually spores on the bottom of the leaves, and that's how it reproduces. So when we have our spore producing plants, but then we also have our seed producing plants. And a lot of people love fruits and vegetables, and fruit is exactly that. It's basically an enclosure around that seed to protect it. And so super, super cool. But I don't know if you've ever had a watermelon seed spitting contest or felt like you were going to grow an apple in your belly when you were a little kid, thinking about how an apple grows from an apple seed. But that's just the basic difference. Now, once we break it down even more from there, in your seed-producing plants, you're going to break that down into gymnosperms and angiosperms. So let's go back to our main one right there. And so our gymnosperms are going to be our non-flowering plants, and our angiosperms are going to be the ones with flowers. So our non-flowering plants, our gymnosperms, they can be split up into three separate categories, which is conifers, which we have a pine cone from a pine tree. You've got your cycads, which is actually this leaf right here. Is actually from a sago palm, and this is the seed from a sago palm. Those are your cycads. They're not true palms. And then we also have your ginkgos, which are the beautiful trees that turn bright yellow in the fall, and they have fan-shaped leaves. So pretty. So we're going to do something with that in just a second. So those are going to be our seed-producing plants. When we break it down those are our non-flowering plants, our gymnosperms. And then our angiosperms are going to be it's going to be a fruit. So just to side-by-side compare these, gymnosperm actually means, in the Greek, it means naked seed. So it doesn't have any kind of coating on it to protect it. The angiosperm, though, it actually means a cased seed. So that's Greek for gymnosperm and angiosperm. The gymnosperm does not produce any fruits or flowers, but the angiosperms definitely do. The seeds that are found on cones and stalks for the gymnosperm, so the pine seeds are actually in here, pine nuts. whereas the seeds are found inside the ovary with an endosperm. So like basically think of an apple with the seeds inside that fleshy apple, or an orange or a grape, or that watermelon. So the cool thing about the gymnosperms is that they are usually pollinated by the wind. The wind blows that seed away, but the angiosperms are pollinated by animals, definitely birds and butterflies and bees. We've talked about pollinators a lot. You hear about pollinators all the time, and they are very important. But they're all going to go to the flowering plants, the angiosperms. So your gymnosperms are going to be mostly evergreen, but that's not all evergreens, because your angiosperms can be evergreens or they can be deciduous, which just means that they lose their leaves. The gymnosperms are mostly perennial shrubs and trees, whereas the angiosperms are all life cycles and habitats. There's a lot of angiosperms, a lot of different types. And then the last thing that I wanted to tell you is, I don't know if you've ever leaned up against a pine tree, or maybe sat on a pine log or board or something like that, but maybe you got some sticky stuff on you, some sap, some tree sap, and it's super, super sticky, and it doesn't come off easy with soap, and that is the resin. And so those gymnosperms are very resinous. And then angiosperms are not normally resinous, but they actually make up 80% of all the plant species. That's a lot of them. So angiosperms and gymnosperms are super important. Now, if we go back, you'll actually see that once we break down angiosperms and gymnosperms, you can break down angiosperms even more. So what those are called are monocots and dicots. So let's compare those. The cotyledon, monocotyledon, and the dicotyledon is what those are actually called. And what that is, the cotyledon is the first little leaf that comes up that, and it actually acts as a snack pack for the baby plant. It can stay in that seed, and it won't germinate, but it actually has a little snack pack in there, and it can survive. So monocots actually have one cotyledon when they first come out of the ground, and there's a sprout you just see. So grass would be an awesome, like that's normally what we see, is one little shoot of grass coming up, and then it grows. And then a dicotyledon would be, it would have two. So I actually have some baby dicotyledons. These are actually some Gerber daisy sprouts. They're not seeds anymore, they're sprouts. But they actually have those two, and then they're getting that last one, but they have two little leaves right there. That's actually what the plant ate, or the baby ate. So after that, we're going to look at the leaves. So when you look at, we talked about the vascular structure in vascular plants, but they have those veins that go down. So this would be a monocot, because all of the veins are going to go parallel. They're going down, they have long leaves like this, whereas this fig leaf would be a dicot, because it has almost like branched out veins. So you can see that that's how it can get wider, whereas the monocots are going to be long and slender. And then you have your vascular bundles. They're usually very complexly arranged, sporadic, and then the vascular bundles on a dicot are usually arranged in a ring. Another thing is the root system. So I will show you these root systems. This is a monocot. They have a very fibrous root system. And then the dicot, you can see that taproot that's already going in, and it actually can hold it really, really secure into the soil. So we have a fibrous root system, and then that taproot that goes down, and then it has other roots that come off of that. And then for our last but not least way to decipher between a monocot and a dicot is the flowers, because remember, these are angiosperms. So you're going to have, obviously there's beautiful flowers everywhere, especially in the spring, but these were two of the flowers that I picked to show the difference between a monocot and a dicot. So the monocot is actually going to have petals in groups of 3. So this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is definitely a monocot. This one is going to have, the dicot is actually going to have groups in 4 or 5. So this one has 8, so that's a way that we can tell that it is a dicot. And I'll let you see those a little bit closer. So what we're going to do is actually look at those leaves one more time. I'm going to move some of this stuff over, and we're going to do a leaf rubbing. So with a leaf rubbing, what you're going to do is you can actually show those veins in the leaf. Now this would be a dicot because it has those branched out veins. This is the fig leaf that we looked at, has branched out veins. Now what we're going to do is actually do a leaf rubbing of a monocot. So what you're going to do is take a naked crayon is what I call it. You actually take the paper off of the broken crayons. Don't throw them away. They work perfect for this. So what you're going to do is you'll take a flat surface. You don't want to have a textured surface because you're going to actually pick that up with it. So you want to have a flat surface, and you're going to put your paper on top of the leaf on the flat surface. So I'm going to do my monocot over here. And remember, on the monocot, the veins actually are parallel with each other, and they're all going the same way. So you're going to take the side of your crayon, not the point, but the side. And then the trick to this is to hold the paper down and the leaf down and not let them move. And then you just rub the crayon over it. So you can see those veins are going to stick up, and that would be the monocot. And you know what? I want to try. No, that's a gymnosperm. We can do one of those too. Let me try a begonia leaf. So you can see on the begonia leaf, it's going to be very thick. So you definitely want the thickest part of, you try to get the stem away. And then instead of the top side of the leaf, which is going to be more smooth, you want to get the bottom side of the leaf, put the bottom side up, and then put that down. This one's going to be a little bit more difficult, but we're still going to see what we get with it. You can do as many as you want. They turn out so cool. You can hear the crunch of the leaves. Make sure you get the edges. And remember to use the side of your crayon. All right, and there is our monocot and our dicot and our leaf rubbings, and I hope you enjoyed that. I just want to do a gymnosperm just to see what it would look like, because it has a very fan-like texture. Not as much, but still cool. So do as many leaves as you can. Make sure that you pick safe leaves. You don't want to pick poison ivy and then end up that way. That's just not a fun time. And I hope you enjoyed this and have a great day.